Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Boys, Season 1, Episode 4. It's called The Female of the Species. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this episode does not top the Make-A-Wish scene. That is still the funniest scene in the season. However, I think it does have a strong contender for number 2 of
Which
the
one?
season. Well, I guess we'll start with the deep plot then, because we have to talk about Space Girls and a dolphin. Again, not as
Yeah.
funny as the Make-A-Wish stuff, but I was laughing hysterically.
It's up there.
At the end
To
of the
be
scene.
fair, the Spice Girls speech as an overall thing is just kind of up there in top 3 moments for sure.
Well, see, here's the thing, though. I saw that in the trailer, so I'd heard it all
I
before.
did not.
I'd heard it all before. Amusingly, the music was actually used better in the trailer because it went into like a montage of action while the Space Girls played, as opposed to this where it just cut to the deep in a van and it was playing in the background.
Yeah, I feel like it should have the song should have been saved and come back later in the episode
Yeah,
when it was with the boys rather than just the deep.
Yeah, I'm not sure what moment in this I'd have put it on, but yeah, I mean, hey, whatever. So the Deep is in therapy. He's feeling underappreciated. So him like coming with this plan to like save a dolphin because he wants to save dolphins. He wants to do something good that he feels heroic about.
He's against SeaWorld, whatever they call it here.
It was Oceanland, because I heard Oceanland. I went, what do you mean Oceanland? That's an oxymoron. What are you talking about? But Oceanland, and we find out when he goes to Stillwell to ask her, oh, is it okay if I do this thing? She's like, no, we have an endorsement deal with them.
You're the main spokesperson.
You did
for
the ads.
campaign.
Yeah, we see it later on. We see him on TV, like, promoting Oceanland. But so he takes it upon himself to just do a one-man little mission where he saves one dolphin. One dolphin
who seems to have a thing for him.
Who has a thing for him. The entire scene is the dolphin. Obviously, it's kind of like one of those things where they're talking to a puppet. And you don't hear the other side of the conversation. We just hear the Deep go, "No, we're not doing that right now. Okay, if I touch it, will you leave me alone?" Ultimately, the scene ends with him having to break because
the police van shows up.
The police van shows up, and he has to break. And the best part of this is that we hear the song, the Space Girls song, in slow motion as the dolphin is flying out the windscreen in slow motion. It was like, "If you wanna be my lover."
It's the way the dolphin turns and looks at him as well, and it's going through the air.
That's not even the funniest part, though. The funniest part is after it lands, a truck comes and runs it over and squishes it.
Dolphin goes everywhere.
And it's funny because the Deep has failed in his one heroic goal, which was to save one dolphin. He has instead got the dolphin immediately completely obliterated.
The dolphin is way worse off than it was half an hour ago.
Yes, the dolphin is categorically worse off than it was half an hour ago. There's no debating in any way, shape, or form. So that was his subplot.
Pretty much.
That was his subplot. But what I think is fascinating to me about this episode is that it counterbalances that with the other subplot, which I think is the most seriously dark the show has gotten. And that is Homelander and Queen Maeve going to save this plane.
Yeah.
This plane that's been hijacked. It's a transatlantic flight from, I think it was Paris to somewhere in the US.
Yeah, I assume the US because that's why they've got the alert.
Presumably, yeah. Well, that's not presumed. They mentioned the site it was going to. I just can't remember what the site was.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
So they go out, and it's like, okay, and Stella was like, hey, this is in international waters, so if you go and save this, then this will be good PR for our bill going through to get you in the military, right? To get you on the first response kind of thing. So you go out there, you save the day, good PR, great. They fly out, and they take out a couple of the terrorists, and they're like, hey, okay, right, everyone's cheering and clapping, and he's waving and all the rest of it. And then they go to the cockpit, and there's a bit of a standoff with the one hijacker who's left with the pilot. And
yeah, the co-pilot's already dead.
Yeah, because we see like there's various crew members dead, various flight attendants or whatever, and the hijacker shoots the pilot in the head. And Homelander, in sort of an instant reaction, just reacts with heat vision, which completely messes the pilot controls. All the controls are done, and it's like, oh well, that's the plane going down. And Maeve quite rightly says, okay, I mean, she doesn't say this exactly in a dialogue, but essentially what she says is, okay, you're Superman, go out and
Go catch the plane.
go catch the plane. He's like, I don't know that, not right.
I love this. His logic was like, there's nothing to stand on to lift against, and she's like, just fly at it fast. He goes, yeah, I'll just go straight through it.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. I don't know if the show's trying to tell me that this science holds up and he's actually being right with this, or if he just legitimately doesn't want to bother trying.
I think it holds up if you assume his flight is an extension of the strength. He kicks off, and so he has to kick off the ground.
We've seen him hovering though.
No, exactly. That's my point. I think
Yeah.
that's the only way that plays.
Because he was hovering at the end of episode 1 or 2, wherever he took it down the other plane, he was kind of just hovering as he was using his heat vision. Yeah. So he can clearly just levitate. Like, he's not. So
yeah.
I don't buy it. He just, because then she's like, okay, we'll fly everyone out one by one. There, it's like 123 times. Come on,
screw that.
Yeah, he's basically just like, I can't be bothered. Let's just go. And it's kind of heartbreaking because he keeps, smiling at everyone, saying, "Oh, everyone's going to be okay. You're all going to be saved. Don't worry about it." And there's this little girl asking him and stuff. He's like, "Oh, you'll be fine." And Maeve's like, "No, don't do this. Seriously, save people." And then she's like, "Okay, we'll just take the mother and daughter. We'll take the daughter and her mother, right? Let's take these two at least." And he's like, "What? So they can tell everyone that we let everyone die? Come on, let's not do that." And he is like, as awful he has been up until now, this is like the darkest possible thing he's done so far.
I think the moment with the TV cameras after is worse, but it's pretty bad. Like the moment where they're all running up trying to begging him to save him as he's at the door.
Yeah.
And the heat vision comes on, and he's like, sit the F down or I'll effing laser you.
Yeah, and, he at this point he's dropped the charade and he's just like, "No, I am going to kill you if you try anything. Just sit down, leave me alone, you filthy peasants." Is basically his attitude. And sure, and Maeve reluctantly goes with, but there's a good moment there where she's holding the hand of the little girl and Homelander's hand, and she's like deciding, like, do I, like, can she survive the fall if she grabs the little girl and like dives down back first? Could she?
Homelander does not seem to think so, because he says, "Don't die with them."
It doesn't seem to think so, no. But I'm wondering if she's thinking, is it worth the chance? Like, could it? Like, maybe I could. Like,
no, I think she's weighing up the possibility, and ultimately figures that maybe she probably can't.
Yeah, but she doesn't seem to know for sure. It's one of those things where until a superhero actually does a test that big, like, do they know they can survive a fall that high?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's super dark, and like you say, there's the other part of it afterwards where they're on the shore. We see, like, cases and like little kids' dolls wash up.
Yeah, it's that girl's doll.
Yeah, Maeve's like heartbroken and filled with guilt, and Homelander, security cameras
spin it.
Yeah, come up and they're like, "Hey, Homelander, you gotta come." To like, "This didn't have to happen. We got here 3 minutes after it went down because we weren't informed, because we weren't the first responders." And and
it's like if we were in the chain of command.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Even before he says chain of command, I actually thought he went too far. Not from like a writing perspective of the show, but just in the sense that I feel like just saying if we'd gotten the call first, we could have been here, is actually all he needed to say. But he went further than that and actually made it very clear what his point was. Because at that point, I think his point was clear at that point. His point was made, right? But instead of just leaving it that, if you want to call that subtle, I don't know if I would, but instead of leaving it there, he's like, "No, if you get us into, if you call your Congress people, tell them to put us in."
He's not. He's playing the act of he's so distraught and desperate to stop this again that he's willing to just say it. I think that's the act he's going for.
What's interesting to me, though, is that when he says "right, Maeve" at one point during all this, she kind of just gives a half-hearted nod. It's like she barely sums up the character. She can't put it on like he is.
She's not in the right frame of mind. She's genuinely upset.
And while Stillwell, as far as we know, doesn't know what happened on the plane, at least not yet, she comes off really dark in this scene as well, because when he starts spinning it, because at first
that's my boy.
Yeah, at first she looks upset because this failed and it didn't work. But as soon as he starts spinning it, she gets this smirk on her face and she's like leaning into the TV, and it's like, okay, right. So maybe you would have a slightly different opinion if you knew what he'd actually did in the plane and that they chose to let people die. I'm not convinced she would.
I don't think she would. Other people might.
But possibly she might. But even on this, without knowing that, this is still dark as shit in her behalf, that she's like, "Oh, he's spinning this, great. Who cares about the 120 people dead?" This was a wonderful scene. Like, I mean, this was a wonderful scene, but the scene in the plane was wonderful to me because this show has done a really great job so far of balancing lots of tones in a way that I was not expecting beforehand. And I think this really brought in the horror of, like, what if someone like Superman was an evil dick? Like, what if he was this malicious, under the surface?
As over the top as this show is, these points here, this is what Man of Steel wanted to be. Of what if Superman was just terrifying?
To a point, I don't know if I'd go as far as say it's what it wanted to be.
Okay, but in the sense of, everyone there is afraid of what he could be, right?
Sure. No.
It's everyone under the assumption that this is what
it's
Superman
playing on
was.
some of the same themes that it wanted to play on, but I don't think it's what Man of Steel wanted to be, because I don't think there was never an intention in Man of Steel to actually like have him be any of those things. It was just purely about the people would be scared that he might become this thing.
Yeah, no, I think what I mean is it plays it as if everyone expects Superman to be Homelander. That's what Man of Steel was trying to do.
Yeah, but that's why I think just saying it's doing what Man of Steel wanted to be is not the right thing to say, because it's there's a comparison to be made, but I think the comparison is better suited with, I don't know, probably Brightburn. I've not seen that yet, but
from the trailer, sure.
Yeah, and Brightburn was a satire of what Man of Steel was. Although from the trailer, not for the exact same reasons, but I mean, I can give more of a nuanced thought in that once I've seen the movie. But so no, this is the thing.
You're talking about juggling tones. We have this in the same episode as the goddamn dolphin.
We do, and that's what I'm talking about. Is that it never came off as jarring. It felt natural to the show that it did both these things. It has the heartfelt moments. It has the dark moments like this. It has the absurd comedy, the absurd satire, and I think that's the other thing that is. I mean, not to just sit and bash the Snyder superhero movies here, but that was like the claim was, and the defense of those movies from a lot of people is it's a deconstruction. Here's the thing: if you want to deconstruct superheroes, you do Watchmen, or in this case, you do The Boys, and by that, what I mean is you create new superheroes that can take elements of the superheroes you want to like comment on without actually taking them in. Like, there's a reason
they can be so obviously who they're supposed to be,
but there's a reason
it falls into parody.
There's a reason why you don't just do this with Superman and Batman. You do it with characters that are clearly representing Superman and Batman, because I don't want to see Superman and Batman doing this. Superman and Batman are what they're supposed to be, and
it's weird. Like it's
usually,
fine
anyway.
When there are comics doing those things, because there are so many Superman and Batman comics, right? So having one comic doing the deconstruction.
Well, even forgetting like the idea that there's so many comics, the idea that in comics we have built-in systems that we just understand. Like we have things called Elseworlds, we have things that are set out of continuity.
Yeah.
Movies don't have that. Movies, they reboot every so often, but there are TV shows that reboot every so often. You get new versions, but ultimately they're meant to be in the continuity at all times. So it's frustrating. And I mean, maybe the argument would be different if Snyder had actually pulled it off successfully and did do a proper deconstruction of the characters. Now, given that we didn't have a good Superman movie in decades, I didn't want a deconstruction. I just wanted a good Superman movie. But
yeah, I think we'd still be disappointed that we didn't have a Superman movie, but we wouldn't be angry. We'd be like, well, at least it's still a good movie.
There'd still be quality there, but the quality's not there. Zack Snyder doesn't know how to deconstruct anything.
He doesn't know how to construct anything, let alone deconstruct.
I mean, maybe you can do the IKEA DIY. Maybe you can do that. Like, can get a flat pack up.
I imagine he has to really complicate it though. Either that, he has to throw away at least 6 like screws and be like, right, I'm deconstructing this. I'm doing it a different way. Doing it my way.
If only someone could hire him the IKEA instructions for making a superhero movie. Number 1, read some of the comics first. Number 2,
read more than one comic, not just Dark Knight Returns.
Yes. Anyway, so that was a rabbit hole to go down. But I loved all this plane stuff. It showed that we are dealing with some of the horror of this and the power. Because I think obviously some superhero deconstruction and satire can be an elevation of a real thing, right? So the thing with the deep and the power hierarchy is very much just No, I mean this is something that does happen with men who are in power and female employees. It totally
Yeah, I
does.
mean,
It
I I assume this is mostly kind of taken from the comics, but obviously it feels more relevant than ever following the Me Too movement, like
yeah.
last year, year before.
Nah,
I don't
you're
know. I don't know what
maybe
year.
year before that now. I think yeah.
Yeah, might be.
Make a
I don't know.
point.
Time's weird. I was just saying, it's the comics have been around for a while, so it feels pretty sad that it's just it's taken this long for it to feel even more relevant.
Oh, I mean, hell, how many times we watch a movie from the '50s and go, "It's sad how relevant everything in this still is." Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
happens all
it's
the time.
true.
So, and to be fair to the boys, I think I actually think it is more of a social commentary than it is a superhero satire. Even though there is obviously superhero satire in
Oh,
there,
definitely,
but I think it's saying more about people than it is about anything else.
yeah,
So, um, no. So again, superheroes just represent people with power, and in the real world, that power means
yeah.
people who own companies and people who are high up in like the government and things like
Yeah,
that.
this shows a lot more blatant with it than other things could be, given that it is dealing directly with a corporation running everything with the superheroes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So no, so it's balancing all these tones wonderfully, which is very
Yeah,
impressive. It's the
you
most impressive thing about the show is how it's balancing all these different facets of itself.
you have to give I think some credit needs to be given to Amazon for allowing as much as what it does in this show, because it is some pretty intense scenes.
Pretty intense scenes. It's pretty slick as well. It doesn't feel super low budget, because there's a lot of
Yeah,
effects with
because
various superhero things.
I
But
did see that there was in the entire season there was only one scene Amazon said no, no, we're cutting that one.
yeah, good on them. I mean, clearly it means okay, we've got a lane as a company, but we're not just going to start taking everything out because we're being squeamish.
Yeah, exactly. It's like no, no, no. Like I say, there are reasons that we will say no at some point because that is their job.
But
But
I mean, otherwise it is a hard R in
oh,
terms of
definitely,
rating.
yeah. And Amazon are very okay with that, and they're actually promoting this one, which is nice to see.
They are. It's nice to see.
Not
Um,
like everything we watch from them.
I mean, I get why they didn't promote the Refn one though, just because they know that most people are going to hate it. This is for the
Yeah,
niche people. This is for the art house people, and no one else.
I know, and the same with Homecoming as well.
Yeah, which obviously it's no surprise those are two of our favorite things that Amazon have done. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're not finished Told to Die Young yet, admittedly, but I mean, it's going to be high on the list. Like,
yeah, but it just hurts that some of the best quality things that Amazon has made, they're not even bothered about letting
hey,
people watch.
to be fair, I mean, I've not watched season 2 yet. We didn't cover season 2 because of the schedule and stuff, but I really like the tick, and I think it's interesting that Amazon now have a second superhero satire that I really like.
They did. Admittedly, they did cancel the Tick.
They did that for
But
season 2, yes. I think the boys does have a bigger appeal or a broader appeal though.
it does, and I know that that they're already talking about things they've got planned for season 3. Apparently, there's a famous orgy thing from the comics that
Yeah,
they've got planned for season 3
and
already.
just in case, I'm sure we did mention this in one of our reviews, but just to clarify, season 2 has been renewed already. Season 2 is already a go.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that in the very first one because it happened before it even aired.
Yes, it happened with the final trailer. It was like 2 days before it aired.
Yeah.
It came out. So just worth mentioning that, I think, again, just reiterating it because it's the sort of thing, because season 1's only been out for like less than a week at this point, or basically exactly a week. By the time this goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 2's already a go. So they've thrown support behind it. And if the quality keeps up for the rest of the season and keeps up into season 2, I am more than happy to keep. The quality difference between this and Preacher is night and day. Just in terms of.
Yeah. And from what I get, it's a lot of the same producers as well.
All the same producers, but I wonder, Eric Kripke's the showrunner on this, and
That probably helped having someone with a lot of talent.
and his,
at the helm.
Supernatural was a solid show, and We Like Timeless, which he co-showran with oh god, I can't remember that guy's name right now. I think it was Sean Ryan. Was it Sean Ryan from The Shield?
Yeah, it was.
It was, okay. I knew it was two showrunners I liked.
Yeah.
On that. So hey, I mean, maybe if Kripke, because I know a lot of producers and writers are signing these overall deals with places now. I don't think Kripke has one with Amazon yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's happy with the experience of working on this. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up doing so.
Yeah, and if he only had one thing cut, out of 8 episodes, I imagine he is relatively happy.
Oh yeah, given the extreme nature of the content of this show, I imagine he probably is quite happy that only one thing got a no.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if he went into the meeting, right? He's like, okay, this is the meeting where we talk about what we're going to do from the comic, and I wonder if he went in with like a list of 10 things in his head, going, they're going to ask about, they're going to demand these 10 things be changed, and then walk out going, only the one. All right, okay.
Yeah, apparently it was something they actually shot. I won't. So for the sake of spoilers, it is something they shot. It existed, and Amazon went, do you know what? No, and he was saying, he's a little disappointed because he felt there was a reason to have it, but overall, one thing's not bad in a show of this nature.
Yeah, I don't think Amazon Prime do like Blu-ray releases for their shows, but if they did, that'd be a hell of a deleted scene to throw on there.
It really would, because it was from episode 2, but I recommend you go and find the interview and read this about the scene, because it's that would have been something.
And you never know, they might. Yeah, don't spoil it because they might like sort of rework it and do a different version of the same thing on a future season.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I wouldn't mention what it is unless people want to go find it themselves. So the main plot of the episode, though, is the boys are staking out where A-Train. They've got from his girlfriend who's Pop Claw.
That was it. I knew it was something Claw.
She like doesn't know exactly where he gets the compound V, but she knows it's in this area because he always brings back these pastries or something from this
noodles.
From the bakery or whatever, and they're staking this out. They've not found it in a while. Billy goes to see CIA lady again, or FBI lady, whatever. What organization?
CIA.
Was it CIA? And basically says, "Hey, we've seen evidence of this compound V," and she's like, "Look, if you bring me hard evidence, you actually bring me the serum. Great, maybe we can talk." But until then,
there's not much I can do.
That said, I did love her being like, so translucent's been missing for a little bit. Would you know anything about that? He's like, what? The C-bomb's invisible. It could be in that corner right there, knocking one out for all we know.
I think what I love most about that is exactly what Translucent has been doing. 90% of the show when he was alive.
Yeah, we knew that he was doing this. Yeah. So it was a really funny line. Carl Urban is swearing very well in this show. Sometimes excessive swearing can bug me, but he knows how to deliver the lines to make it work.
Yeah, he sounds like a natural Englishman. With regards to the swearing.
Yeah. Is he meant to be English? Because a little bit of his
He is meant to be English. He's definitely meant to be English.
Okay.
The Kiwi sometimes comes through a touch.
It does a bit. So I wasn't sure if he was just meant to be New Zealand or
No, he's definitely meant to be English.
That's fair. I mean, he's done a pretty good job with it. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where I'm just used to it being his voice now that...
Yeah, no, it's not flawless, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty good. And like I said, it's the way the...
Well, it's entertaining, because I've spoken to people in the past about the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they have complained...
I'm pretty sure you've spoken about this in the first episode of this show's review.
I don't think I did.
You did? I'm sure you did.
Not the point I'm about to make.
All right, carry on.
Not the point I'm about to make. But I've spoken to people who have had trouble with Spike's accent in that show.
And hang on. Yes. I know you did, because this was in the first episode when we were talking about Carl Urban's accent here, and it's the way it's played up, but it's this not necessarily a real version of the accent, but it works for that character.
Okay, sure, but I didn't make this specific point, though, is that I've met people who had a problem with that accent at first, because it feels like this, it's like a TV British accent because it's not really quite specific to anywhere, right? But you kind of forget after a while, and you get used to that just being his voice because he's so damn entertaining. His delivery of lines on that show is fantastic. He's really funny. Like, when he starts saying things like, someone's in the ceiling, and, things like that, or, like, Spike's a very quotable character on that show, right? And Carl Urban's kind of the same thing here. Now, admittedly, because we curb harsh swearing on this review, we can't quote a lot of his lines.
It's a little disappointing because there are some great lines.
There's some great lines. But for the sake of making sure the videos stay monetized, we cannot be doing that. So we shall not. But really entertaining. So they're sticking at the place. They finally get like a little glimpse of some activity. They go in, and Frenchie and MM.
Mother's Milk.
No, it's Mother's Milk. But no, at one point Billy calls him MM. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the abbreviation, all right? Because Mother's Milk's a long name to say, so I'm
It's a
switching
bit of
to
a mouthful.
I'm
Yeah.
switching to MM. Not M&M, just MM. um, so they find this girl, who I actually didn't know this, but when I was looking for the name, and obviously it occurred to me, we didn't really get a name, but she is credited simply in the credits to this as the female. So
Yeah. I think I knew that from the first trailer. They did a roll call.
oh, did they? Okay, so the name's come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and Frenchie having a bit of a heart, it's like, hey, they've got someone kidnapped in a cell here. Like, I'm going to let her out because I'm not evil. And sure enough, he does. And she flies out, and the bad guys come in, and she starts gouging eyes out. And just like, she has super strength or speed or something. She's got some
Bit of both.
increased abilities here. I mean, it's not like ridiculous. I mean, maybe we'll find out she does have ridiculous strength and stuff. But at least here, I'd maybe put it in the same power as like Spider-Man's strength and speed.
It is worth noting though she's probably pretty malnourished here, so
Oh, true,
that
yeah.
might factor into it.
Yeah, maybe she'll be an absolute beast when she's you know, had some food, had some sleep, you know.
Yeah, once she's a proper Spice Girl.
Right, when she's a proper space girl. We'll explain that in a bit. So she runs off, and once Billy shows up, they're like, okay, we have to deal with this. We have to find her first, before, because A-Train's going to be looking for her. Because A-Train, like, stumbles onto the area, and he's like, wait, shit, my. And there's a speculation from them that they're also using her to, like, test the Compound V. My first thought was actually that it was coming from her.
I did too, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking though that they're taking her blood, and that's like a key ingredient in it or whatever.
That was my first thought as well, because why would they be keeping her under guard otherwise? I mean, test, sure, but that seems pretty unsafe given that the fact they're having to keep her under lock and key for their own safety.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe it is just testing, but if it turns out that it's coming from her, then we're taking points for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're looking around, they don't really find anything, but Frenchie kind of figures out where they're going because she goes to like a nail salon at one point, and
Yeah, and they kind of recognize her
yeah,
a little bit, like, you know, not like they know her really well, but they've seen her before.
and they head over to the train station because they think she's going to be trying to go back home.
Yeah, Frenchie's kind of putting it together.
So, and Frenchie, has a whole thing where he finds her, but instead of using they've got like a gas grenade that they've specifically got to knock her out. Some sort of
that he's gone and got from an ex-girlfriend.
Well, I think it's the same girlfriend as the first episode, right? That was in the.
You could be right. Yeah,
I think it's the same one. And she's like, "You're going to come to see me soon. I miss you." And then makes it very clear that if he doesn't, she's going to like cut off his dick or something to that effect.
Yep.
She's scary lady. But Frenchie tries to like, "Hey, I don't want to hurt you. I want to help. We can help you." And he's kind of making some headway, but she does ultimately kind of run away. And they end up with a bit of chase scene throughout the thing. A-Train shows up and snatches her. And he like very violently is beating her up. He's like smacking her head against the wall at super speed. This was very uncomfortable, actually. I mean, we know she's got super strength and stuff, but it was still this is still a very.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a huge. I mean, he's a big enough fella again, and she's a pretty small girl.
It's just the visual of a man taking a woman's head and beating it against. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it was another guy's head that he was bashing against the wall, it'd still be quite vicious. But there's the extra little layer to it when it's
there is, yeah,
when it's man on woman violence. And Frenchie is told we have to leave. Billy's like, you have to leave this. She's screwed. We can't take care of A-Train. But he has a smart idea where he's like, hey, everyone, A-Train's here. And because the crowd shows up,
runs out for the selfies.
Yeah, A-Train's kind of preoccupied, and they have to go after her themselves. Yeah. And Frenchie tries to talk to her again. Unfortunately, it does not work.
No.
Again, it's kind of making some headway, but she ultimately kind of freaks out, and they have to use the grenade. And they've got her. They've got her, and we'll see how that goes. Now, obviously, she's on the poster, so I'm expecting she will be a full-on space girl, and we'll at this point talk about why that's a sentence. Because my favorite callback to that speech was actually when Frenchie turns and says, "But what if she's a space girl?" I love that line because it was like, "Hey, she could be one of us. Like, she could be an ally."
It was that, and then combined with when she's clearly attacking him, but she's going, she ain't no Spice Girl.
She's gonna be a space girl.
She so is. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But those two lines were great.
Yeah, Billy's whole thing is when Frenchie and MM are fighting.
Yeah, we get some more details of
Mallory.
what happened before. Mallory, yeah. So Frenchie has a habit of going off book, it seems.
Yes.
He cannot stick to the plan, which is why he doesn't want to work with them. And Mallory was their handler.
Yeah, she was in charge, and she had grandkids that got killed because he went off book.
Yeah, and Frenchie seems pretty apologetic about it. It wasn't like he did anything on purpose.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious, but it seems like he thought he was doing the right thing, but it led to these deaths.
Yeah, and MM's like, no, this is why there's a chain of command, why there's someone above us who's calling the shots, because they might know better than we do in the moment.
Yeah. But anyway, they're ready to give up and walk in separate directions, and Billy's like, "Come back here. What's Sporty Spice doing? What about Ginger Spice? Sod all, right?" And he goes through all 5 Spice Girls, and he's like, "See, here's the thing. Not even on page 6 of the Daily Mail. I guess that proves that he's meant to be British, actually, because he says Daily Mail.
No, and the fact that he knows this much about the Spice Girls.
I'm sure the Spice Girls were big in New Zealand.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know if they were that big in New Zealand.
I'm sure they were big in New Zealand. Anyway, yeah, because we both know a lot about the Spice Girls.
I know a reasonable amount about the Spice Girls. Hey, I loved the Spice Girls as a kid. Don't get me wrong.
I don't. I couldn't have told you that Victoria Beckham's got a clothing line for anorexics. I didn't know that.
I mean, I probably could have guessed, to be honest with you.
Although, saying that out loud, I'm assuming he's just joking because it's for really skinny people, not that it's actually literally for anorexics. But
did you take it seriously in the moment?
I think in the moment I thought it was like a weird, quirky rich person. I'm going to do this for anorexics. You know how like in The Office when Michael wants to do like a fundraiser for rabies, even though it's like something we can cure, just go and get a shot.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think to be fair, and the I can't remember which ones it was now, but he was talking about the whole sex blackmail thing between two of them. I knew about that because that's been in the papers over the last 2 years.
Oh yeah, I think it was Sporty Spice has got the sex tape. I think they said.
Yeah, but she keeps going. Me and one of the other ones had a whole thing, and the other one's like, no, we didn't. There was nothing.
I love how I can name not their actual names, but I can give you their character names for all the Spice Girls just because they were that big at one point.
Yeah, posh, sporty, ginger, scary, baby.
Yes.
Yeah. I had to think. I was trying to count all there. Yeah, that's all of them.
Oh, anyway, so yeah, he's like, see, individually, no one knows who they are, what they're doing, no one cares. They're shit. But you put them together and they're the effing Spice Girls. Like, that's really important. Like, that's a big deal. Like, he could have picked so many bands for this. He could have picked so many bands. He could have picked, who else is a team? He could have picked the Ninja Turtles. I don't know. He could have picked so many groups.
I feel no, like, staying on the British, you could have done like Take That, but there's only one that you know about outside of Take That, right?
True. Which might have been important if there had been a member of their group that was separate but were doing really well.
Yeah, exactly. If there was one of them that was still like, hey, you still know who that one is.
Yeah. The speech is great though, and I love how afterwards like he gives the shittiest pep talks. He really does.
Yeah, no, this was a great 2 minutes of the episode.
Yeah, no, this was a. We're all shit individually, but you put us together, then we're the effing Spice Girls. That is. And again, I love the callback later because it makes it very clear that when he says maybe she's a Spice Girl, it's like, hey, she can be one of us. Maybe we'll be stronger with her on our side.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, though, there's another plot here because Huey gets a call from Annie, and Billy's like, oh, who's that then? And he makes him fork over his phone. And he's like, oh, it's Starlight. Well,
so you better bloody phone her back.
Yeah, here's what you're going to do. You're going to clone her phone signal so we can hear everything she's saying. And as expected, Huey's like, hey, she's a good person. And Billy, of course, is like, she's a supe. She's just like the rest of them. It comes off as a very very bigoted comment. It's like, no, just because she has powers, she's one of them, and that's the end of it. There's no, and that's something presumably that Billy's going to have to learn to, be okay with, and over time. And so here he goes on this date, and they go bowling. Classic date, casual date scenario.
Yeah, a lot of fun banter between them.
Yeah. So they're joking about high school and whatever, and she's doing really shit. And and Huey gets some points here because Huey's like, hey, like you said you've bowled before, You've got superpowers, and yet you're doing terrible. Look, don't worry about bruising my ego. Show me what you've got. I want to see how good you actually are.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then
dear.
she slams the ball down the alley and
Gets a
smacks them
strike.
all.
Yeah. And
Well, see, no, that annoyed because it wasn't really a strike, was it? Because it was a second throw, so technically it was a spare, even if she hit all of them.
the skill's still a strike. Like the
I
skill.
mean,
The point
sure,
is
but-
completely the same.
but technically, still only a spare.
Yes, this is why you're such a pedantic prick. You know that, like, it doesn't
I
matter.
know. But as soon as it popped, she said it popped in. I was like, "That's not. I can't help myself."
No, I like this a lot because the two of these characters have a lot of chemistry, and I think this scene worked wonders. All these scenes, because it was kind of split up over the episode, but
Yeah.
all these scenes worked really well in kind of showing the chemistry. Because she's like, you know, like, you know, one of them that says it, but they're talking about she's bringing up how, oh, you know, like, it's strange, you know, like, this guy never talked to me again because I beat up this guy that was, which, funnily enough, if I hadn't made the Buffy vs. Boar, this is actually, what she describes here is an exact moment in the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. In the episode Halloween in season 2, Xander is getting beat up by Larry, and Buffy comes over and, you know, grabs Larry's arm, puts it up his back, and, like, tells him to beat it. And then Xander gets pissed because she's emasculated him. And this was exactly what she describes. Connor's swinging booze right out the bottle for the audio listeners right now.
Well, that was too many Buffy references. I'm sick of it. Need something to get me through it.
That made me think of it immediately, though. I just thought of that scene. And, you know, he's like, no, I don't care if you beat me at bowling or you beat me at, like, anything. Like, because that's what she says. She says, you know, does it not bother you that I could literally, you know, wipe the floor with you at almost anything? And he's like, nah, not really. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
And basically what Huey's like, not succumb to toxic masculinity, where he just doesn't give a shit. So it makes him more likable for a start.
Yeah, and makes her like him more.
It makes her like him more. Their chemistry is kind of clicking in all faces here. But what I like about the moment where he does clone the phone is I like that his motivation is because he's kind of freaking out throughout the episode at little moments where he looks over and because there's like a loud bang at one point because someone gets a strike and it reminds him of the explosion and he's like kind of freaking out. He also asks about translucent at one point, and she mentions that, well, he didn't really respect privacy because she'd obviously seen him be naked in the bathroom, but he wasn't the worst of them, and he did have a kid. And, you know, hearing that he had a kid, Huey's like, oh shit, like, you know,
yeah,
there was other facets to this person that I've just kind of wiped out off the face of the earth, maybe for the wrong reasons. And I think part of this journey for Huey's maybe learning that it shouldn't be about vengeance. Like, he wants to do something, he wants to make things right, but maybe it shouldn't be about strictly just getting back at them.
Yeah, definitely, which is kind of what Mother's Milk was kind of trying to tell him, you know, in the van last episode.
Yeah. But I loved at the moment of motivation for him to actually pull out the device and do the thing with the phone is actually seeing Robin. Like, you know, he sees his dead girlfriend, and it's like,
and he feels guilty that he's getting so close to this girl already.
Yeah, and it's almost like a reaction of like him, because of his guilt, reminding himself of, you know, why he's supposed to be doing this, you know, from Billy's perspective, like what this is supposed to be about. So he does it in a moment for himself to take away that guilt, because this is what it's, even though he clearly has chemistry with Annie, they're clearly falling for each other.
Yeah.
You know, so good stuff. That's what this really solid episode. Like, I thought all the plots really, really clicked. Everything felt it was important. Not once. I mean, obviously the deep stuff was really just comic relief for the most part. Although I'm sure his feelings are going to be relevant to a decision he'll make later on.
Yeah, I feel like at some point this is going to have a purpose.
The fact he feels this way will give this subplot the purpose. Is this where his character is? But sure,
I would just like to acknowledge the amount of effort I had to say there, to use the word purpose and not porpoise when talking about the deep. I just want to acknowledge the self-restraint that took.
It almost sounds like you're doing an accent if you say that, though, when you say purpose. Like, he's got a porpoise, you know.
It does. It's kind of New Jersey, isn't it?
But all the plots felt like they had, you know, were entertaining, but they all felt important for advancing characters or the plot of the show.
A little bit of foreshadowing as well for what I assume is next episode. Because based off of, you know, before we got the little tease for the race, and then the next episode we got the race.
Sure.
This episode on the screen we got the the Jesus festival that Annie's speaking at.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'm sure we'll get that. You're right.
I'm pretty sure, you know, because it felt very similar to the setup for the race.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why I'm pointing out though that all the plots in this, because there was like 4 plots that we talked through there, and all of them were entertaining, all of them felt they deserved the time they got, is that so often we'll watch a show that we quite like for the most part, but there'll be the 1 or 2 plots in an episode that just feel like they're not as good.
Even more so, we feel it in like a full hour long episode.
Yeah. So credit to this show for everything feel, and I think maybe this is part of like having someone like Eric Kripke who's done a lot of TV in the past, knowing how to like format, even if it is a longer episode than what he's, because he's done typically the network stuff.
Yeah,
but,
it's typically been doing 40 minutes.
But just his knowledge of how to actually make the episodes feel like important chapters, one after the other, is helping the show out a lot. So
yeah, because I think this is the best episode yet. I think it's the most consistent. I think I've all the, because it was very separate in the sense that we had kind of like 4 plots going. All of them were very enjoyable and tonally very different. But
yeah, I
never felt whiplash.
I think that's the other impressive part, is that all 4 of them were enjoyable in completely different ways. So it felt like variety as well on top of everything else. Like,
yeah.
So the deep was the dark humor, which was really funny. The Homelander stuff was the really dark and serious plot advancement and stuff for his character. And then we had Huey and Annie, which had a lot of heartfelt stuff where you really liked the characters. It was kind of, heartwarming and kind of bittersweet when he did do the bad thing, because she's going to be upset about this when she eventually finds
definitely, out. Yeah.
And then, the main plot with the boys themselves, which had a lot of character building for them, and obviously the introduction of this new character, and that had a mixture of some humor, but also some actual other stuff. So,
yeah. I think that's why this hour went in so fast, because all of it felt like, all of it felt different, jumping between all of them.
But no, it did. Absolutely did. So, maybe we'll be on an upswing continuously. Maybe this is a show that is literally finding its feet as we go.
We've seen it a lot of times before.
But the thing is it started off at such a high bar that it's actually really impressive that it's doing that. So, The Boys is very good. And that is episode 4. That is us halfway through the season. We will have the next episode for you the day after tomorrow. So look forward to that. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the usual things. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. Where you can support us for as little as $1 per month. You get bonuses, you get exclusives, you get some stuff early, and some other things here for that $1 per month. But of course, there's higher tiers, there's $5, $10, and so on. And you get other things in there like voting rights and so on and so on. So go have a look at all that stuff. There's also a handy list of all the shows we have and all the audio feeds that go along with those shows in the opening post at Patreon, which everyone can see. You don't have to be a patron to see that. You can check out all the other stuff we do. If you're on the audio feed for this, which is our Almost Cancelled TV Reviews audio feed, we also have a Netflix Originals Reviews audio feed, which you can check out, which has all the Netflix original reviews we do. We don't have one for Amazon specifically. Maybe one day, if we end up doing enough Amazon shows consistently, maybe it'll be worth setting a specific Amazon feed up. Right now, it's on this feed.
Amazon shows have been kind of sporadic here or there. I mean, weirdly, we've had 2 back-to-back right now, but this is the exception.
Yes, this is the exception so far, but if they keep going quick enough, maybe we'll get to a point where it's worth doing. But anyway, check out other things we're doing. Obviously, we're still reviewing 1 per week of Too Old to Die Young. We got a bunch of Netflix shows coming up very soon, and we're nearing the end of season 3 of Handmaid's Tale. So, check out some of the other shows we're doing, and some of the other shows we have. So, otherwise, that is us. So, thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?